everybody, welcome back to another video from everyone's least favorite insane Deltarune fan. This is another very disorganized video of just various Deltarune thoughts I've had, since I don't know how not to wait until the last possible second for these things. This is a part 2 kind of follow-up video to my other video like this, so you can go watch that one if you'd like. You don't need to, but cool. Please feel free to correct any inaccuracies in the comments because I'm not good at remembering things. Everyone go comment Nebula doesn't actually remember anything about the game that they make videos about, along with the list of everything that I did wrong, thank you. And obviously this goes without saying, but this video will have big spoilers for Deltarune, so don't get mad at me if you get spoiled. You chose to watch the video, I can't do anything for you. So, I don't have a whole lot to say about Chris right now, since I'll be talking about them a bit later. However, I do have a few things I want to say that don't really fit into the discussion there. Firstly, and most importantly, though probably to me alone, Chris played piano, guys. I'm so proud of them. As a little context as to why this fucks me up so bad, Chris is the character that inspired me to start learning piano, and also my favorite part of Deltarune since I really got into it back in the Chapter 2 days has been the puppet-flavored sides of it, also known as the conflict with Chris and the player, for angst reasons. So obviously when I saw Chris regain enough control, even momentarily, to play piano again, I about exploded on the spot. I remember getting to that scene in Chapter 4 where they play piano that may not be played that well, and just going completely silent in the middle of a conversation with my friend, and just watching them play. And I about lost my mind at learning about the secret extra scene in Noelle's house where they play all those songs, and genuinely feel like such a horrible person for missing it on my first playthrough. I'm so proud of them. Speaking of those songs though, so we were shown in one of the more recent newsletters at the time of writing this script that one of them is going to be used as the main shop theme for Chapter 5, which, combined with piano that may not be played that well's entire existence, shows us that these songs are going to be important to the future of Deltarune. So, is anybody else terrified for the one called Last Prophecy in the files? Okay, moving on. I love the new dialogue options that feel so much more like Chris this time around. Stuff like bangin' sermon my man, telling Alphys they'll put hay inside the bunker as a new house for Susie, or telling Susie I'm sorry this is happening while they were getting ready for church felt like little glimpses into Chris's actual personality, and I love to see it. Also, apparently Chris has a knife. Why do they have a knife? Why do they just have a knife ready to make a dark fountain? Definitely not threatening at all. I mean, I've always had a headcanon that they carry a pocket knife everywhere, but I don't think that was a pocket knife. Another thing I thought about recently, what is their shield? Like, if their pencil became a sword in the Dark World, where did the shield come from? Put ideas in the comments, please, because I'm lost. Shit, okay, I have such mixed feelings about Ralsei right now. I don't remember if I brought it up in my last video, but like his response to spam to Neo makes me so angry. In case nobody remembers it, here it is. always been infuriated by his dismissal of Chris and Susie's feelings and concern here. I would think that the healer would want to help his friends feel better, so Ralsei going and pulling the bullshit of convincing Susie to not use her healing magic in Chapter 4 did not help. What makes me especially angry about the magic thing in particular is Ralsei is the entire reason Susie's even learning healing magic in the first place. Why would you encourage her to learn it and then proceed to shoot it down when she goes and does what you told her to do? I also hate how many secrets he's hiding. We still don't know how he knows the layout of the school or how he can travel to different dark worlds. I also, for some reason, hate when he does the let's close our eyes and imagine what Susie's doing right now to have secret discussions about Gaster knows what with Chris, which apparently is something he's taught Chris to do too, because they do it on their own in Chapter 4. The difference is when Chris does it, you don't get a choice. But then I'm conflicted because, oh, suddenly we learn his room is quite literally entirely empty because he doesn't see any point because of whatever's in the prophecy. This kid is terrified of whatever he's seen in the prophecy. He breaks down sobbing in front of Susie. He has such upsetting self-worth issues from just simply being a Darkner. Poor kid was so confused about being a protagonist for the first time in Tenna's video game, and he gets so upset at himself for just simply being a kid. It's sad. I don't hate Ralsei. He was my favorite back when Deltarune first came out, but man, do I have such mixed feelings about what he's been doing. Something's up with him. I can't wait to find out what it is. Yeah, so remember what I said about Chris's piano playing fucking me up? I'm sure you can imagine my reaction when I learned Susie wanted to play piano too. If I remember correctly, when Susie says Chris should continue playing piano again, the only response that you can give that Chris doesn't seem to disagree with is only if you play too. Their friendship means everything to me, man. Like, Susie giving Chris a prize because it was unfair that Azrael had all the prizes and the conversation that they had about it in Castletown afterwards. Susie cleaning up the stain on Chris's floor even though it'll make them late. Her response to spam to Neo, the mirror dialogue. I'm so happy about how close that they've gotten. And on a vaguely similar note, Susie's character development in these 2 chapters, holy shit, she literally went from fuck no, I'm not a hero to I'm the hero and I'm about to kick your ass in the span of like 3 days, and I'm so insanely proud of her. On the topic of her being a hero though, I feel the need to address prophecy. If you watched my previous video, I seem to recall saying thing with Susie. Why does she feel simultaneously so important but also the least important one here? In comparison to Chris, the only human, and Ralsei, the only Dark Prince, Susie's role in the prophecy is just a monster. That could be filled by basically anyone else in Hometown. So why her? So, anyone notice how the prophecy seems to break down when it brings up the girl? For one, does this look like Susie to you? Also, the girl's holding a sword, which is distinctly not Susie's weapon. And also the wording, and I guess the way the prophecy is shown to us, is so well put and organized until it brings up the girl. It seems to fall apart entirely after that, almost as if it's confused or broken in some way. Did Susie break the prophecy somehow? Unrelated, but did anyone notice how Susie went from hell yeah, another adventure to being really apprehensive about it when things got more serious? I feel like the tone of Deltarune has drastically shifted. Also, back on the point of Chris and Susie's wholesome friendship, honorable mention to Susie saying she didn't know that they had a bird or something, and Chris nodding head or something, because I thought it was funny. So, we met the knight. As a mini disclaimer, I'll be working under the assumption that the knight is Des, but when the chapter first came out, I believed it was Carol, and I do think both interpretations have merit, so be nice in the comments, please. Let's have fun with it while we don't know anything. Actually, fuck, if you don't think the knight is Carol or Des at all, please tell me in the comments. I love hearing theories. So, that was unexpected, wasn't it? I really never expected to see them in chapter fucking 3, but, hi! So, I've fought Jevil and Spamton a couple times now, and their lines about the knight have been fucking with me. Less importantly, Spamton references communion right before trying to talk about the knight, which I, don't know what to do with. But of course, then Jevil pulls out the fucking "A nightmare will awaken in your hearts in the shadow of the knight's hand."
What do you mean by this, Mr. Cloud?
Something that just occurred to me while writing the script is maybe it has something to do with Friend, considering Friend shows up during the explanation of Dark Worlds. Much to think about. But speaking of the knight's hands, hey, so you remember those holes in Gaster's hands that was pretty much universally accepted fanon? Well, it's canon now, the knight has them. I've been, like, going a bit insane about this, because, like, listen, that was never confirmed to be a canon Gaster thing. Toby, to my knowledge, refuses to acknowledge Gaster's existence, and we don't even know for sure that the Mystery Man thing even is Gaster. So, tell me why, on this otherwise incredibly undetailed design that is the Roaring Fraud here, one of the few details chosen to emphasize are circle-shaped markings on her hands. What? I know for a fact the knight is connected to some Gaster bullshit, but unfortunately I can't fucking prove that. Anyway, back to Chris. They're relevant because this loser is apparently working with the knight? Huh? You bastard! They refuse to use any amount of their actual attack power when fighting the knight. If you manage to get them to the top of the stairs, they don't even try to attack them. If my brain is doing the remembering, since I haven't actually beaten the knight yet, they're the one that tells the knight to stop fighting you. And for all of the parallels that Chris and Spamton have, I did not expect one of them to be taking orders from a weird phone voice. The phone voice who, in both cases, were assumed to be the knight at one point. But in Chris's case, is it? Because sure, it's got the vibes. But Chris calls them to report the emergency of Susie getting a hold of the guitar, and they reply, "I'll be right there," which then causes Carol to come home early? And why would the knight say that and then not show up at the same time Carol did? But Carol sounds different when she calls on the weird route, so what the fuck is going on? But back to the knight directly, what happened to her? Every time I see the sprite where she screams before her fight, I get so concerned for whatever Des must have gone through to make her like that. Like, my best friend pointed out that her head looks more like a deer skull than anything actually alive. And if it's a holiday, especially if it's Des, that can't mean anything good. And back on the note of how simple and undetailed the knight's design is, the game sure emphasized whatever's in the ribcage a lot. Much to think about. So a lot of things happened in Chapter 3. We got to tell everyone Chris and Susie's names were ass on live television, the silly TV man had an emotional breakdown about being forgotten, and the dreamer's divorce, but most importantly, we met Ram. And then he turned to stone. I don't think I need to elaborate on why this upset me so much, to the point I usually almost cry whenever I replay the sword route, considering from what I've seen, we have nearly an entire corner of the internet mourning this stolen power strip. However, what I specifically want to talk about here is how Ram felt like such wasted potential, at least to me. Ram felt like he was gonna be so important. He uses the secret boss's signature phrases, for one, and like, sure, big shot is a normal phrase. Chaos, chaos isn't. He seemed to know a lot, too. He's the one that shows you the goddamn secret boss, for fuck's sake, who we could have had another mysterious, important, knowledgeable shopkeeper, like Sham, but no. And like, when I say Ram felt like wasted potential, it didn't seem like it was entirely intentional. Like, they didn't realize what they could have done with Ram. He could have been so interesting, genuinely, I would have been okay with another Sham, but you can't recruit him. He still turns to stone, no matter what we do. And all I can do is delude myself into thinking we'll get a recreation of the Green Room in Castletown in Chapter 5 and Ram will be alive and well.
Also, I hate you, evil red hater Pippins, you know what you did.
Speaking of Darkners turning to stone, though, anyone else thought it was weird that it was specifically the TV world guys that turned to stone at the end? I have a theory on why that was the case. A game theory! Think about it. It's the TV world. Meaning it's directly connected to the existence of Tenna, the TV. So what do you think it meant when they decided to stop working for Tenna? They're no longer working for the TV, and therefore, no longer part of the TV world, as far as the Fountain/Darkness is concerned. So, I'm not okay. Snowgrave is kind of a lot. Who could have possibly foreseen this? Being made to commit murder against your will takes a toll on people. Actually, Birdley's not dead. I hate that this is where the bar is, but he's breathing. This helps my case that there's only one ending, though. Let's be optimistic and say Birdley can live. For my sanity. Chris and Noelle aren't gonna be okay, though. Chris tried to reassure Noelle that everything would be okay, and we just completely ruined that the instant we get control again. And Chris beating the shit out of us in the trash can in the bathroom, where they knocked themselves down to half HP before being interrupted. You think they would have kept going if they weren't interrupted? Speaking of specific Snowgrave scenes, though.
What was this? What the fuck was this?
I was watching my friend play Snowgrave, and they got to this, and it felt like time fucking stopped. I genuinely needed a second. It gives me such bad Doki Doki Literature Club vibes. Oh my god. Moving on to something more Snowgrave adjacent. How did we like the Sword Route boards? Obviously, this is all meant to parallel Snowgrave, right? That's obvious. So, I have some concerns, especially this shadow. What the fuck? My interpretation of this scene, at the very end of the Sword Route with Mini Chris, is that a big reason Chris is so scared is because it's the most quote-unquote real representation of the player they have, for lack of a better way of explaining it. So with that in mind, huh? Maybe the shadow is Chris in this case, since they are mirroring our movements. We can try to stab Chris at the end of the Sword Route. What would that mean? My friend also suggested it could be the vessel. We'll just have to see, I guess. One thing I've always loved is how Snowgrave is written like a creepypasta, and Sword Route did not disappoint. Especially with how Chris gets, like, actually physically hurt from the Shadow Mantle attacks, which, speaking of, anyone notice how it sounds like it's putting so much strain on the game to have the soul there when you start up the Sword Route boards? Speaking of sound effects from the Sword Route, the jingle that plays when you get the ice key. Now, I'm bad with leitmotifs, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think this is a leitmotif that we've heard before. A lot of people keep trying to tell me it's the Weird Route jingle, but I don't think so. And also, it's so clear. Like it's trying to tell us something. I wonder what this leitmotif is going to be used for. I also love that one line of dialogue that the Shadow Mantle says. Part of you is just enjoying this. and how the meaning changes so drastically when they add in Snowgrave, the same part of you that enjoyed yesterday, knowing you could say it wasn't really you. Because it sounds like they're talking about the player at first, but when they add knowing you could say it wasn't really you, it then sounds like it's about Chris. Now for a interesting Spamton sweepstakes things I found. 2, actually. First, alright, welcome to Unscripted Morris on the Spamton Sweepstakes website. Probably haven't seen this in a little bit. Something that I discovered while, I was actually watching some of Molly Star's videos because I wanted to learn about device theory, and I found one of the videos that shows, this page. I have it in another tab, because it's easier to find. So there's this page. It's, deltarune.com/chapter5, and the little header thing is back. We know how this Spamton Sweepstakes website works. So it has numbers here on the screen, right? And if you highlight all of them, you can see the, 1 and 4 are also here, or like 1 and 3 are also here, but they're like hidden. And, let's just, you can't click on number 1, so let's just see what happens when we click on chapter 2 here. That's the song that plays right before we fight Birdly in Snowgrave. Let's move on to chapter 3. That's the Shadow Mantle sound. And then chapter 4 is not a sound effect. But if we just wait on the screen for a minute, that little red dot from that one scene starts appearing in the center. So that's also great, and also now that the thing has changed up there. So clearly what this is showing us significant moments from all of the Snowgrave adjacent, you know, things. I say Snowgrave adjacent because obviously Shadow Mantle is also here. So with that in mind, that's the hometown theme. This bothers me a lot because where my brain went immediately, obviously, as well as the fact that, oh, it's guitar, it's December holiday, right, I don't think that'll be relevant, but outside of that, where my brain went first was, Chapter 5's the festival, assuming they're not gonna pull a Chapter 3 on us again. Chapter 5's gonna be the festival. And I'm assuming that festival will take place in hometown. So, the hometown theme being included in important Snowgrave moments like this is, terrifying. Because the Snowgrave route has very much migrated out into the light world. It's no longer, like, specifically just a dark world thing anymore. So I don't know what to do with this information, but, nothing good could come from this, I think. The second is the Spamton Sweepstakes thank you page. Now, I'll try to find a screenshot of this page on the Wayback Machine or something, because if you were to go on this page, upon it being first added to the site, you would be met with an almost blank page with 2 text input boxes and a button at the bottom with the header, "How long did it take her to smile?" People eventually found that it wanted an email address and some amount of time as a response to the question. Upon putting in a response, the page went dark again with nothing more than the text, "Thank you." Eventually, the page became nothing but the dark thank you page. There had been a window time to put in submissions, and then it had closed. Then people started getting emails.
And it wouldn't be much longer before... Around 9 PM EST that same day, people on the Undertale Deltarune newsletter mailing list who had sent a submission through the thank you page would receive a no-subject email from Toby. If you had answered the second field in that page with no numbers in it, your email would be completely blank. But if you answered with any numbers in it, the email would read, You answered number in some units of time. Some people got that number in seconds. Some people answered in days. Some in minutes. Some in years, and some also answered in years, but then the email for some reason converted it to seconds. At the bottom of all of these emails, though, one could tell the formatting was the same of that of an Undertale Deltarune newsletter, except now reading, "You're getting this email because you for the mailing list."
So, what's so interesting about this, and why I wanted to bring this up, is because after chapters 3 and 4 came out, submissions reopened. A second chance. It was still on a time limit like before, but the difference now was that people got responses. Molly Stars made a couple community posts asking for people to forward response emails they got, and while I can't know what people said to yield these responses, allegedly, some of the responses included, "You're getting ahead of yourself. What are you getting at?" It was like a countdown to her then. She never stopped smiling, and it was the first time she had smiled in her life. Which is interesting, because the response Molly got after inputting 11 years was, "Then, it was the first time she smiled since she was a child. Move forward with this answer." Molly said it felt to them like a survey rather than a question that has an actual answer, and I just think this is so fucking fascinating. I don't know what the hell this is talking about, or even who this is talking about, but the fact we got a second chance after chapters 3 and 4 makes me think there was information there that would have helped us. Also, that some of the responses seem to contradict each other. If she never stopped smiling, how could there have been a time that was the first since she was a child? Also, the way Molly's response was formatted with the quotation marks, as if it was the first time she smiled since she was a child, is specific only to Molly's answer. And something about the way it said "move forward with this answer" while everyone is getting drastically different answers feels weird. What does that mean? Are the different answers supposed to change our interpretation of future events somehow? Were the others formatted that way too? Is it a different she every time? The prophecy did break down when mentioning the girl. Is that somehow relevant? There's so many questions. Oh god. So, ow. That escalated quickly. I don't have a lot to say about this, shockingly. However, one thing I would like to bring up, other than the Titan spawn fight having my favorite dialogue in the whole game, is, did anyone notice how much of a tutorial this felt like? Like, its attacks are way easier than what I expected from a Titan. The whole fight is showing you very clearly how Titans work. You learn about purifying and killing Titan spawn about 5 minutes beforehand, and also it's only one Titan, where the prophecy showed multiple. Speaking of learning how to purify and kill Titan spawn, why is it keeping track of that? I don't like that. Something else I don't like that my friend pointed out to me, the Titan spawn are the only thing that has a kill animation. It's the only thing you can kill without Weird Route. What the fuck? Another thing, the Titan's awesome, amazing boss theme. Why is it called Guardian? Maybe they serve a purpose in the Roaring that we don't know yet, besides just destroying everything. My friend suggested they might be protecting the Angel's Heaven in the prophecy. Can we also talk about Ralsei in this part for a moment? Like, him whispering to himself that everything will be okay in the Titan spawn fight hit me so hard, and then you come face to face with the Titan. And this poor child, who up to this point has always told you to be kind and not hurt anyone, screams at you to attack it with everything you have. He was probably so panicked. Something that I noticed is that all of the secret bosses that have the freedom motive also have green somewhere in their designs. Jebel's ruffles and shoes are green, Spamton's strings are green, and then there's Gerson and Batat, who, yes. Honorable mention for the fact that Gerson's fight also used green soul mode, and what my friend pointed out, that Batat hides the fact that he's green, in a way. Meanwhile, the other secret bosses, the Knight and the Shadow Mantle, have no green, and also don't have the freedom motive. I've been so insane about this, my friends are probably tired of hearing about it. I'm not sure what exactly it means, but at least if nothing else, I think it's such a fun detail. While still on the topic of the secret bosses though, Chapter 3 was weird with the secret bosses, wasn't it? They gave us kind of a multiple-part secret boss this time around. Part 1 is the Shadow Mantle, which is the one that's actually hard to get to, where you get the item, and then Part 2 is the actually hard fight. I beat the mantle in 40 minutes, where you get the Shadow Crystal. And also, while not in Chapter 3, I'm counting the mics since they were from TV World, these guys have our freedom motive. I personally loved this, actually. I've always said that I loved the idea of a secret boss that wasn't a secret character, and only the fight itself was secret, and the knight, while not entirely accurate, was close enough that it got me so excited. It's not a secret fight. However, the fact that actually being able to beat the knight was hidden behind a secret was so cool to me. All of this, while cool, threw off everything we thought qualified a secret boss. Which leads me to ask, what makes a secret boss a secret boss? I will be including the knight and the mics in this because yes, they do count. Ow. What the fuck? I hate you. What are you doing in my video? I like the freedom motive. I'm very confused about it, actually. So, the first few characters who had it had a distinct lack of freedom, but still had some desire for it. Jebel gaslit himself into thinking he was the only free one, and Spamton was so desperate for freedom that at that point he would do anything it took. There was also an undertone of loneliness and abandonment since Jebel and Spamton had both been abandoned by everyone they knew, and Jebel literally comments on how lonely he is in his Little Freedom. They also both paralleled Chris in some way, though Spamton more than Jebel. This trend doesn't follow with Gerson and Batat seemingly at all, which is weird. Oh, a desire for change similar to what I was saying about Spamton and Jebel's desire for freedom? Gerson's version of the freedom motive was incomplete, and he seems pretty happy with how things have gone for him, so something actual freedom? I don't know. But that's the most confusing one for me. His freedom motive feels more like it's trying to tell us something, and let us know it's there rather than saying anything about Batat. My theory for Batat is that he has it by associating with Mike, but we can't know that yet. I see. That makes sense. Silly divorced husbands. They're so dumb. There's, again, not a whole lot to say here, but I just think it's kind of funny that they're both stealing shit from each other. For one, the red suit and yellow tie. Now, it's debatable whether Spamton had it first or Tenna had it first, or if it's something that they came up with together, but they both had that outfit, and I think it's kind of cute that it implies they wore matching suits during Big Shot era. Spamton also stole the TV time jingle in his theme.
Mr. Antenna's TV time.
Tenna took one of Spamton's Pippus in the divorce and a couple of his phrases, albeit messing with them so it's not as obvious, like getting Cowabungadero from Spamton's Congadero or the smooth taste of TV time from the smooth taste of Neo. Less importantly, they're also both stealing things from Mettaton from Undertale too. The red suit and yellow tie combo is what Mettaton wore during his news segment. Tenna also took Mettaton's song from the news segment but gave it anxiety. And Spamton yoinked everything from Mettaton Neo, given Mettaton Neo was what inspired Toby to make Spamton in the first place.
Really fucking stupid thing. I love Pluie as much as the next person, but for the love of WD Gaster, Pluie is far more likely to be a game mechanic than a character. I'm sorry, but your squishy isn't real.
So I was wrong about Pluie, and I love him. So, I love the mic, guys. So much. So much so, I bought the mic shirt as soon as I could. I've always loved disorganized groups that all share a singular brain cell, which is why I love the Sweet Cap and Cake so much. I love Patat and his insane theorizing, as well as yelling at the other two to get their act together. I love Jongler and the way that they never understand anything that's going on. But most importantly, for this video, I love this stupid silly cat so much. I'm sure you can imagine, after my intro to this section, how much it surprised me that we actually got Pluie in Deltarune, and I especially didn't expect them to be a reference to Friend. Though, that's also one of my favorite details about the mics. I love that they were all silly references to fan theories about Mike. Patat is the theory that Mike was a Darkner based on a microphone, Pluie was Cat Mike theory, and Jongler was Cowboy Mike. I think it's so fun. On that note though, Friend inside me isn't dead. Do you all remember Woody theory? The theory was that the secret boss of Chapter 3 would parallel Woody from Toy Story, coming from the fact Asgore's favorite TV show was a cowboy show. This, apparently, started from Toby posting an edit of You've Got a Friend in Me, where instead it said Friend Inside Me. Well, apparently, there's evidence that suggests that there will be a Dark World in Asgore's shop in Chapter 5, so we might still see Friend Inside Me in Chapter 5. Moving on from that, this guy behind the tree, who we were all saying was Gaster this whole time, we were wrong! As per the PlayStation release, we got trophies that are clearly written by, say it with me folks, Gaster. And one of them is complete the chapter without issue, which you can actually avoid achieving by acquiring the eggs, which means Gaster apparently considers the eggs an issue, which clearly would imply he's not the Eggman. So now we must return to the question, who is the Eggman? One detail I don't see a lot of people talking about is that he's apparently a Lightner. You remember this traffic jam at the beginning of Chapter 2? There's a guy that waves at you in one of the cars, but only if you get the egg. What does this mean? Another thing that I only just now remembered that I wanted to bring up that I just didn't write in the script for some reason is, I think it's really weird how in Chapter 3 there's such a big deal made about what would happen if Toriel were to wake up. I don't really know what to do with this, but it's brought up so often that it feels like it's trying to tell us something about how Dark Worlds work and or foreshadowing something that may happen in the future. So I just remembered this while I was like playing Minecraft and procrastinating on recording Deltarune footage, and I wanted to record this extra thing now that I remember it, because I forgot to write it in the script. Alright, let me talk about some of the music for a little bit. First, can I call attention to this one leitmotif? It's so good. It's my new favorite leitmotif. I also weirdly associated with Chris. Like, look at them and tell me it doesn't encapsulate how cool and heroic they are. Next, I've been thinking a lot about how many references there is to this song from The Water at the end of Hometown. Mostly because I like to think it's my OC who's associated with water and plays flute, but that's not relevant. Onion brings up how he keeps hearing a song coming from the water and he's going to go investigate, and then in chapter 4, Susie brings up again how it sounds like somebody's playing a song out there on the other side of the lake. I haven't seen many theories on what this is, nor do I have any theories of my own. I just wanted to call attention to it because it's just kind of interesting, I think. Last music-related thing I wanted to bring up. I can't stop thinking about the titles of 12 a.m., 13 a.m., and Neverending Night. 12 a.m. is midnight, obviously, but 13 a.m. is a time that doesn't exist, continuing to count up. And in case you're not great at thinking, like me, because it actually took me so long to realize this isn't even possible on a 24-hour clock, since 1, there's no need for the AM-PM system in the first place, and 2, after 12 a.m., it resets back to 0. It only counts up to 13 after 12 p.m. in the afternoon. Daytime. So, just think about that for a moment, and then think about it being followed by a song called Neverending Night. Holy shit. Next, what did they mean by lost where the forest would grow, the children followed the pointed tail, the poor children? I've seen theories. Most people assume this is about Des and Chris finding friend, but who really knows? Whatever this is talking about, something really bad happened, I think. Ready for another weird thing I discovered? I found this thanks to a Molly Stars video, but apparently, in the version of the save select menu from before you ever complete chapter 1 save, this green one, there's a variable in the files for it called threat. It only ever goes up when you reach this red text when you're about to delete a save, meaning you could back out of deleting it afterward and it would still keep the number up. And I bring that detail up because if you get that red text 10 times without ever actually deleting a save, once the threat level gets to 10, you get the dialogue, very interesting, and it resets the threat level back to 0. This is terrifying. Keep in mind the dialogue in this specific menu is clearly Gaster speaking to us, and I think Gaster thinking of any person as very interesting is, enough to unsettle a lot of us. Another really unsettling thing is the fact that it's called Threat. My best friend and I have debated on what exactly Mr. Wingdings here is referring to as the threat. My immediate assumption was that it was how much danger you're in, but Fable suggested it was how much of a threat he considers you to be. Whether that means to the experiment or just in general. Neither option makes me feel safe. Speaking of that, actually, a lot of newer Deltarune fans won't know this, but it was heavily implied when Deltarune first came out that Gaster was the one giving us the game, leading a lot of people, including myself, to believe that this is an experiment Gaster's running. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because in the first release of the game, back when it was still called Survey Program, during the Goner Maker sequence, there was this ominous, "You will accept everything that happens from now on." It's now completely absent. And I was recently informed that not only was it in the Goner Maker, but also on the Deltarune.com website, and apparently, the user license agreement you had to agree to play the game. Dr. Gaster really wanted to make sure we couldn't do anything to avoid agreeing to accept everything that will happen from now on. And this is so ominous to me, as I'm sure you can imagine. I haven't been able to stop thinking about what this could mean since I was reminded of it recently. So, there's all my current Deltarune thoughts, or at least most of them. I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble once again. Once again, huge thanks to my good friend Bree for helping with the editing and art again, but also the script this time around. I was running out of ideas eventually and they offered to help, and I'm very grateful for that. Thank you for sitting through this insanely long ramble of mine, and I hope to see you again soon.